So my first question, of course, is to Michael, and it is to give us an idea of how a film evolves from idea to completion. Where did that initial idea come from for the story, and what were the major changes from your first pass at this story to the completed film?
Well, there's a scene about halfway through this film where the entire family gathers in front of the fireplace and they take a family portrait. And that, to me, is kind of the central image of this film, because that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to make a family portrait. So all of my movies are about love, which is something I don't think I realized until I was making this one. And I realized I'm looking at a different kind of love because it's about family relationships. And I think love is trickier when it comes to family bonds than it is when it comes to romance, because you choose your romantic partner, but you don't choose your family. And how did it evolve over? How did it change? I don't know if it did. I mean, it did change and evolve over during COVID, and I rewrote it 20 plus times. But it ended up being what I wanted it to be in the beginning. The final product was incredibly true to what my first impulse was, which was to make a movie about a family, and I could not have done it without this particular cast right here, because they had to create this feeling of having a shared history. And luckily, I was able to hire the best actors in the world to play the Frank family and their assorted spouses and lovers. And then, I also want to point out, are Jeremy and Dave still here? Where are they? Right down there. Okay, yes. Jeremy and Dave are the owners of the house where we shot this movie. Absolutely instrumental to the success of this film. I also want to point out the only person on this stage who's not an actor in the film is Eric Marsh, right here to my right. He's the editor of the film. The actors have probably not met him yet.
Oh, he was sitting in front of the house waiting for the film.
Yeah, just picking up the drive.
Yeah.
Wendy Roby, meet Eric Marsh.
I am so pleased to meet you.
Wendy, Eric has been looking at your face more than anybody in the year 2022.
My dog.
So let's go to Wendy, and please introduce yourselves and your character before I give you the question.
All right. I'm Wendy Roby, and I played Karen Frank.
So you portrayed Wendy, you portrayed so many different types of characters in your career. What particular characteristics of Karen were important to you as you built this modern matriarchal character with a pretty significant secret?
The very best characters always have a significant secret. Believe me. But I was playing my grandmother, Inez Benzi. She was, she hid all kinds of things, but she was really, it was buttoned up, but she would say things like, there are a few things in life that can't be improved by a good, strong cup of tea. And for heaven's sakes, dear, put on some lipstick. So that's who I was playing my dad.
So next we're going to talk to Fran, if you wouldn't mind introducing
Fran Guinan, I
yourself.
played David.
Now, Fran, as primarily a stage actor, what energies do you use differently as an actor when you have to be ready to deliver on a movie or TV set, as opposed to the more straightforward energies of the stage?
Well, it's in your question. It's much more straightforward on the stage. You just, the lights come up, the door opens up, and you're off to the races. You know exactly what's going to happen for 90 minutes. But with a situation like this, you have to keep your eyes open constantly, and to see what's pace yourself over the course of the day. But when you're on the set doing a scene, you have to be very sensitive to what you're actually looking at. And sometimes that's very difficult, seeing what's right in front of you, seeing it correctly. So that's, I guess that's the short answer. Or the long answer.
So, Keith?
Hi, Keith Gallagher. I play Rod.
So, Rod, of course, is the lightning rod of the family. The characters seem to have the most collection of obstacles to happiness, and you were called out for it in the movie. Which aspect of the character did you believe was top of his personality, and how did you want to interpret it?
I think at the top of Rod's personality is his pain. It was it's a very he's in a really, really painful place just day to day, and I think just that when your day-to-day life like that is like that, your life is just very uncomfortable. And I was actually sort of interesting because this is a pretty let's say working on a role this size was pretty new for me, so I was actually uncomfortable on set quite a bit. To really, I think, tap something real, to live uncomfortably.
Great job. Emily?
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily Lape, and I play Norma Frank.
In your point of view, what did Norma need to learn in this family reunion to continue to evolve her family at home, and how did that inform your character in the interactions within the other characters in the film?
I'd say that she probably needed to learn, and I think it helped her towards the end, is to kind of let go of her expectations and maybe control of how she wanted life to turn out. So yeah, I think like learning to let go and go with the flow. I think it was overwhelming being with everybody and learning to just relax and move on, and it will be okay.
You interpreted that very well. Liz?
Hello. Is Liz, and I played Hecla in the film.
So you had the challenge of portraying a scene as Gwendolyn from The Importance of Being Earnest through the free spirit of Hecla. What felt right about that choice for Hecla is something she'd be likely to do for that character? And was it different than how you would interpret it? And did it help you to connect to Hecla more?
Okay, so there's a part in the movie where Benji says that Hecla's name isn't quite as pretentious as it sounds. I think it absolutely is as pretentious as it sounds. I think that she chose that to show off a little bit, maybe, to like, this was her audience. This girl loves an audience. That is something we have in common. So she definitely wanted to show, also she's in college. I mean, she wanted to show her intelligence, her knowledge on her craft, that she could just pull that random monologue just right out of her ass and give it to them what they asked for. So I think That's definitely not what I personally would have chose. So I think that's where I differ from Hecla. I think I'm more of a simple girl than Hecla is. But yeah, that's where my brain goes to right now.
Melissa?
Hello, my name is Melissa Dupre of the Humble Park Dupre's, she, hers. I play Lucia Aguirre and am married to the Frank family.
Very good. In many aspects, Lucia was the most stable of all the characters. What characteristics of her did you admire and want to emphasize in your portrayal?
When I read the script, I was deeply moved by how much love there was in it and how much the Frank family is absolutely committed to meeting people where they are, and how Lucy also meets them where they are. And I think that comes also through in a conversation where I would not normally extend as much grace for educating people around identity and racism. But again, you're met with so much love and honesty, and it really allows you to be your whole self in this movie and in this family. And so I think that was something that I was like, well, go big or go home, but this is home. And when you're married into a family, you really want to try to bridge all of those gaps and create the harmony so your partner feels like their whole self, and that way you're also committing to your whole self. And I thought that was the struggle with this partnership, and it really comes through with the Frank family. Like, they want to be their whole selves.
Very nice. Heather? Her character is written as someone not only who dislikes her ex-husband, but can barely tolerate his company.
That's true.
Since you had one key scene in which to express that distress, what part of that character did you want to emphasize in establishing a shorthand for the relationship?
Oh gosh, Sarah she does have that one key scene, but she's so present because they talk about her so much, and she's clearly so present in Rod's life, that I don't know if I thought about establishing one thing in that scene. I think that I don't know if you know this about Michael, but Michael drives actors a little mad because he'll shoot something, he'll say, "It's perfect," and then he'll say, "Cut," and then he'll never do it again.
What did he do?
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying because you don't know. You did the scene and you have no idea if it's good, and all you want is a second chance, and he's like, "It was great," and he moves on.
Guys, I know when I've got it.
So there really wasn't much time to think about that, and I made this joke with Keith. We were standing on the porch, and we had never worked together before, and I was like, "This is an interesting gig." I'm like, "Hi, nice to meet you." Action, fuck you.
Right.
So we were really, I think Keith and I were really just trying to be honest and get that one take in the can that we were going to get before Michael said it was perfect and moved on. And so that is what I was thinking during that scene. Thank you for the question. Also, I do comedy.
H.D. Ward? First, your character, sir?
I'm not sure I remember his name.
Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe.
What is the key for you to remain energized as the character when working within an ensemble and a character role in the scenes that you did? And what do you rely on the most?
Just like Fran said at the beginning, just look around. Just try to see as much as you can and react to what you're seeing. Yeah. And a lot of times I was looking right at Fran. I'll tell you, it makes it easy.
One more intro for the director, and I have a question for you. Since we see that Michael is very economical with his takes, does it make it easier as an editor when you're going in, and or do you wish sometimes you had something else to cover?
A little bit of both. I mean look, I admire Mike because he shoots on a low budget and he knows what he wants and he goes for it and he gets it, which made my job very easy. There's not a lot to choose from. There's not a lot of takes. There's not a lot of angles, you know? And that's the way I like it.
Spoken like a true editor. So let's open it up to questions from this lovely audience.
Before we
Raise your
do
hand.
that, can we also just give it up for the DP, Olivia?
Yes.
Looking for her, and one thing I really appreciate was the shots. So in having conversations with you, Michael, maybe you can also just like give people the insight on that relationship. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I love Olivia. I think she's a genius. She's, I think she was 25 years old when she shot this film, and it was the best experience I've ever had collaborating with a DP because she understood what I wanted better than I did. It was really bizarre. Like I don't believe in reincarnation, but if there is anything to that, then I definitely worked with her in the past. That's how, symbiotic our relationship was. And she was supposed to be here today. She was going to fly in from LA, but her flight was canceled. So she'll be here in June. So come back and see it again, and then you can talk to her.
So anybody have questions? Don't be shy. Yes, sir.
Tell me about this favorite scene that you had to cut.
What was your favorite scene, Michael?
That's a question for the editor. I'm passing it along to Ed. The dream?
There was a dream sequence, and Michael and I really liked it, and not a lot of other people really liked it. It was very like disorienting and choppy and weird, and it was Yvonne like wandering in an alley with bloody bare feet. It was very cool. And then we kept making it weirder, and then everyone was like, just get rid of it.
Yes, sir.
Well, so off of that, I guess I have two questions. Why don't you just release that? But also, it just flows so well. So I don't know if that was in the editing room, if that was in the script. I mean, maybe it was just everything. It was just so beautiful from start to finish. It was just like a magic trip going through it. How much was that grit in the editing room, or how many of those cuts and decisions and montages were in the end oh my gosh, this works? Or did you know that from the beginning no, we're going here, here, and here, and here?
Michael writes his own montages in his scripts very specifically, so I'll let him answer that.
Yeah, I mean, the script was very detailed, and the script actually got shorter and shorter over time because of COVID. We had to postpone shooting for 13 months. The first person I cast in this film was Claire Cooney, who plays Yvonne, because I had worked with her before, and I wrote that part for her. The second person I cast was Wendy Roby, and Wendy and I had coffee in December of 2019, right around Christmas time, and we thought we were about 6 months away from shooting. At that point, I said, we're going to shoot in May, and then we ended up not shooting for a year and a half. So during that time, I kept revising the script, and it just got shorter and shorter. And then when we were cutting it, the first rough cut of the film was 1 hour and 52 minutes without credits. And then the final version is 1 hour 34 without credits. So we cut 18 minutes out. And that's always kind of a tricky balance to strike, because people are always going to tell you can cut more. People are always going to say your movie can be shorter. It can be shorter. You don't need this scene. You don't need that scene, or you don't need that shot. And as a director, I think one of the hardest things to do is to know when to say yes and when to say no, because there are moments in this film that are a little bit, where you're just kind of hanging out with the characters. And those moments, those beats are important to me. The film has to breathe. It can't just be all wall-to-wall important dialogue about what's going on. People just need to kind of shoot the shit sometimes. So trying to figure out how much of that to include and how much of it to cut, and then having a brilliant editor like Eric Marsh there to help me through that process. But thank you very much for your comments. I'm glad that you thought it flowed well.
More questions? Yes.
I really enjoyed the camera panning, especially for the circle of time. It was great. I actually was waiting for a shoe to drop. There are so many moments when you think things are all relative. I thought something really horrible was going to either happen. And the dancing at the end, and because I thought that your brother was going to feel your feelings. And I was so relieved that he did. And then close up of, I forget her name. I thought, oh no. So I'm just so relieved, but it's very interesting to me that all those moments of certain close-ups and just brought it to a different level.
Well, I think you've probably watched too many bad movies in your life. That's conditioned you to have these expectations. Believe it or not, when I first started writing this in early 2019, I tried to co-write it with someone else, and it didn't work out, and we parted ways pretty early on. But one of the notes that he gave me was he thought there needed to be more drama in it. And I just thought, we're never going to see eye to eye, because to me there's plenty of drama in it. It might not be movie drama, but when I think about my own life, things happen every day that seem dramatic to me, but they might not be like extreme, external things like what you usually see in movies. So I just wanted to make it feel like life.
Yes, ma'am.
What is something for really anyone, starting with Michael, or anyone else that you thought was going to go a certain way and then surprised you in shooting of it?
That's a good question. I was surprised a lot during the making of it, because I always am. These actors brought a lot to it. And casting it's all about chemistry. You have to feel like the chemistry is right. These people have known each other for years. And even the characters who don't have a lot of screen time, like Uncle Joe, I wanted him to make a huge impression when he comes in. The party don't start till I walk in. You need to feel like he said that, like that's his catchphrase, and he says it every time he walks through the door. But specifically, these actors worked really hard to create that history. And I remember thinking, why are they working harder than any cast I've ever had before? Because they were talking to each other. And I remember Keith, who plays Rod, he came up with a nickname for Norma, which was No. And then Yvonne called Norma Nor. So they all had these little nicknames for each other that felt very true to life, to the way siblings interact, to the way parents and children interact. And that blew me away. It was so much fun to just observe them playing in their little sandbox.
All right, we have time for one more question. Anybody?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did they cut your part out, like in Chicago Rendezvous? You were, smoking a cigar in the back.
Yeah.
So.
I have a cameo in this.
Oh, wait, can you make it?
I'm well, you'll have to come back and watch it again to find out where I am in the film.
No, sir, to answer your question accurately, they did cut a scene that Michael was supposed to be one of the cam girls. That's how he appears in most of his movies, and we went back and forth. We had artistic differences. We really were like messing with licenses, and then what would the name be, and would it be too pronounced? And he was just like, no, I'll just take a back seat to it. And
Cooler heads prevail.
right.
There will be a director's cut.
Well, that's a great way to end it. How about some applause again? Thank you.